Hi, and welcome to our session today, which is on the boat deck CRM. I'm going to cover off the marine one in this session, and then I'll do a separate one for our power equipment and machinery dealers as well. So this is how your interface will look if you are a marine dealer within the boat deck network. You may actually, in fact, be a marine dealer who's also a power equipment dealer or an RV dealer, in which case you would end up seeing multiple tabs here across the page, and I'll show you a quick example of what I mean. This one here is a machinery and equipment dealer, but they could potentially have marine, and they could potentially have RV and caravans as well. So the system is capable of reaching down deeper into multiple categories now rather than just marine on its own. But for this session, I'm going to cover off marine for our marine specific customers. So when you arrive at your console, you'll see here you've got some little tabs at the top. We've got listings, inquiries, subscribers and inquiries. And you've also got a very large, in this case, inventory list. Now, if you're a Mercury dealer or one of our other manufacturer dealers like Simrad or Navico, for example, then we preload a lot of this inventory into the system for you, and it's managed and maintained via our data feed software. So it just means that you haven't got to, then add all of these listings yourself. They're already pre-populated in the system for you. You can also go in and add extra listings, of course, yourselves. And this is what I'm going to show you how to do today, because frequently you'll have, boat motor and trailer packages you want to add. You might have used engines. You might have a variety of other new boats that you want to showcase. So I'm going to show you how to add a listing and also how to edit an existing listing. So to create a new listing, you just click on this add listing option up here. And depending on how many verticals you represent, it might be just boating or marine, and that's fine, of course. But if you have multiples like RVs as well, they'll appear here too. I'm going to select boating and marine, and then we can choose to add a boat, an engine, or an accessory. And in this case, I'm going to choose boat. And it'll take you into a listing page. And this is where you can create your new listing. So the title needs to be search engine friendly. So that means it needs to be at least the make and the model of the boat that you're trying to sell. I'm going to use just a generic example here. This has got nothing necessarily to do with a particular dealer that I'm putting this in for, but I'm just going to clip some things up. So there might not in fact be real boats actually, for all I know, but I'll just put them in and you can see what I'm talking about. So make and model here. And this is what we use for our meta description, which Google will actually pick up and show in their search result index. So we need to make sure that it's at least the make and the model. You don't want to just put 350 bow rider, because it's an insufficient description for Google to really give it any weight. So we put the make here as well. The summary is just a little one-liner, so you can put a little teaser in, like fully optioned with trailer, for example. Then the description is important, because not only is this where you put the bulk of your information, but the first 160 characters get turned into your meta description, which again is what Google will show in a search index result. So the first 160 characters are about the first 2 sentences. So I'll just put that in here actually instead. 60 characters, 2 sentences. Get used in here. Now, there is an order and a method that is kind of best practice to follow that I found over the years tends to work very, very well in Google, and that is to start your listing in such a fashion that you're including a variety of keywords that are going to be useful for that particular listing to rank well for in Google. So I like to start it off saying new or used, as the case may be, then the make, then the model, and then the words for sale. You may also like to include the year, and you can do so there if it makes sense for you to do that, particularly with the used, but it's helpful as well. Then next sentence needs to repeat the make and the model again, just to firm up that meta description, so that you've got the keyword represented twice. But this time we're going to mix it up a little bit. So we're going to put this new Quintrex bell rider 350. So you can swap them around if you want, if it's meaningful. Like you might have a particular make and model that is flipped around, and people do search for it in both ways. If not, just go back to your 350 bell rider Nix. And then what we want to do here is we want to put in something to do with the usage type. Is a great example. Okay. Now, I know these are not great examples necessarily, but you get the idea, I hope, which is that we want to repeat the make and model, potentially in a slightly different way. And we also want to reference the fact that it's a fishing boat or a family boat or a day boat or whatever usage type is relevant to this particular vessel. If it is coming with any optional extras or trailers or anything like that, be sure to reference the brand name. So if it's a Mercury engine, for example, you can reference the name Mercury. You can reference the fact that it's a 40 HP outboard. You might want to even put the word engine in here just for extra effect. Now, Neverco, that's probably not the right thing to put. We probably put something like Simrad Electronics in here, I guess, would be the best thing. And you'd probably be specific, including whether it was a chart plotter or something like that. So it's worth taking an extra few minutes just to sort of think about these first two sentences, because they will impact the way this listing is ranked in Google and the amount of traffic you therefore derive from the listing. So by sprinkling these, good keywords in a sort of balanced way, helps the listing, perform better for you. And you're going to the trouble of putting the listing in, you may as well just spend that little bit of extra time thinking about your first two sentences and handcrafting them. Beyond that, you can type whatever you like, really. Up to sort of 250 words is the sort of maximum you really need to go to. You can go more, and you certainly can go less, but Google will generally not crawl more than about 250 to 300 words per page, and a human will generally not read more than that. So having more is fine, particularly, I suppose, if it's a larger vessel, but you really needn't go any further than that necessarily. But if you can include things like, again, the usage type, the layout, think of these sort of keywords that a buyer might be typing into a Google search browser if they are looking for this type of boat. It may be a make that they might not be familiar with. So again, it's important to potentially reference more popular brands in context. So don't keyword stuff and sprinkle a whole lot of competitive product brands in there. But, you might want to compare it side by side with another, more famous brand potentially, or you might want to compare within the existing portfolio of that brand. So, for example, there might be a newer version of the product that's just been released that compares well with an older, more outdated model that's been superseded by the new one. So you can reference that as well, so that you'll pick up search traffic for both the older incarnation as well as the new. So you can use this to your advantage quite effectively if you just have a bit of a think about it and take some time to write some copy that's not generally, but it is always best if it's unique content. So rather than just copying and pasting it from a manufacturer's website, it is better to write it from scratch to at least 50% different from its source content if you are taking inspiration from somewhere else. So it needs to be at least 50% different if you are to rank for the content at all. You just copy and paste the content from a competitor's site or a manufacturer's site, Google will potentially ignore the page altogether, considering it to be duplicate content. So again, it does take a bit of extra time to write this content and make it your own, but Certainly if it can reference your business and if it can reference your location, that will make a big difference, and writing it in a unique fashion will benefit you a lot. Beyond that, it's pretty straightforward. It's kind of the sort of drag and drop fields you would have seen, I'm sure, in many other classifieds advertising portals. And the reason why it looks so similar is because these data fields will in fact feed the listings to other portals like Boat Point, Boat Sales, Trading Post, Trader Boat, eBay, Yacht and Boat. So these data fields are fairly industry standard for that reason, but it just makes it quite easy to use. You can pick something. It will preemptively search for what you type in. So if I started to type in QUI, it will take me to the QUI boats, and I can select contracts here, and then I can put in a 350 bow rider, which I don't think even exists, but the list will pre-populate here, and you can pick something. If it's not here, then you can type it 350 bow rider over here. You can of course request that we add it to the drop down if it's not here, but it won't prevent you from proceeding with your listing. So you simply just put the model option in here. The parent categories are set up when we build the site for you. We can add more for you, and I'll show you also how to add parent categories yourself. But in this instance, this is a Mercury site example that I'm using here, and we've got some Mercury parent categories pre-populated, as well as some other products here as an example. And I don't have Quintrex, I only have Savage, but you could simply select the appropriate parent category. If it's a used boat though, you don't need to select any parent category unless your site's been set up to have a used boat parent category, which you would see here if it was there. In this case it's not. So if it's a used boat, you just leave the parent category blank, and if it's a new boat, you just need to select the brand that it needs to belong in, basically. The boat category is a generic option, and this is a category that will feed to third parties. I do find it best if you cannot be too granular about this one. So for example, if it is a motorboat or a power boat of some kind, then rather than selecting a ski boat or speed boat or something that's very specific, the best option in almost every instance is to select motor and power boat, because it will go into a broader range of categories on third-party portals that are less easy to control. So keep it nice and general. If it is a sailboat, then there is an option here called yacht and sailboats. So you can choose that one. But if you choose either or, that's usually the best option. If it's an engine, there is an engine option here. I think actually we've moved this into the engine section, so it's its own separate entity now, which is actually better, so that's good. Motor yachts you can use. Again, I would tend to always revert, well, there's a motor option there, to motor and power boats is definitely the best default. New or used you would select. Then the power type would be power, sail. In this instance, you only ever use engine or motor if it is an engine or motor on its own that you're advertising. Otherwise, you need to make sure you select power because it's a power boat. Hull type, it can be obviously whatever it needs to be. The hull style can be single. It's featured. Now, it depends on your site. If you have a featured carousel on your homepage, then this is where you choose whether that boat is going to be featured in that section or not. And you select is featured, yes. In this case, I'm going to leave it as no. And you'll put the year in here. Engine type, surveyed, rego number, rego expiry, HIN number are all, they're not compulsory. So anything compulsory has an asterisk next to it. Anything that doesn't, you don't have to fill in if you don't want to. It's there if you need it, but you don't have to fill it in. Same for stock number. It's not a compulsory field, but if you are going to be sending listings to Boat Point and you already have them in Boat Point and you want to start to use the Boat Deck system to feed inventory over, you just need to make sure that your stock number is the same in Boat Deck as it is on Boat Point, but we can talk you through that. So when you're doing your feed, that you know what to do. But the stock number otherwise is a compulsory, not a compulsory option. The length is compulsory, of course, so we just need to make sure we put in the appropriate length. I find it best in meters when it's going to be sent as a feed to other portals, but you can do feet as well. Either is fine. The search price and the display price. Now there are two fields here for price, which can get a little bit confusing, but as long as you remember to put the same dollar value attributed to the boat. So for example, if this is worth $38,000, the search price needs to be numbers only. So this is because we use this field again to feed to third-party portals, and the third-party portals will be only able to receive the data in integers only, so numbers only. No commas, no punctuation marks, no nothing. So purely just raw numbers like that. But then the display price is what appears on your actual website, and you can handcraft that. So you can put a dollar sign and then $38,000. We can even put some text on sale now. You can do whatever you like here. So this is called a free text field. So it gives you the ability to, put things like POA or contact us for a great deal, or put a variety of different punctuation elements into the pricing, including decimal points and not that if you were so inclined. So apart from that, there's nothing else you need to do. You just save the listing, and it says up here, boat updated successfully, which is what we like to see. Then we go into the engine section and we go add engine. And here you can put the make, the engine serial number if you like, the number of hours it's done. Obviously, this is not going to be necessarily very relevant for any of your new boats because you're probably not going to have any engine hours on them. But you might like to display things like the horsepower if they're coming with an engine as well, for example. You can do things like drive type. Fuel capacity, of course, as well. So with these fields that are numeric based, so fuel capacity, displacement, and horsepower and engine hours, it's really important to keep these fields as, again, just numbers, integers only. So if it's done, 32 hours, you simply put 32. If it's a 40 horsepower engine, you just put 40. No HP afterwards, just leave it at that. And then fuel capacity, if it's got a 100 litre fuel tank, you just put 100 and leave it at that. And then you save the engine. Then once you've done that, you can, if you think, oh no, I've made a mistake, I really want to edit it, it'll take you back in and you can change it to, no, it's actually 120 litres, and save the engine again. The media section is where you put all your photographs. So you can upload your images by just simply clicking on the add files option. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to slow down the tutorial. I want to keep it moving, but you just add the photos in and then you can rearrange them in any order you want. And I'll show you that in another listing in a minute so you can see how it looks. The video embed code is here if you have a video that you've got already uploaded into YouTube and you want to put the embed code in. I have a separate tutorial on how to do that, so you can just refer to our videos tab on the Marine website, and it will show you how to go through that. Same thing if you've got a virtual tour. So they're becoming a little bit more popular, especially with the larger boats. And you can do the same thing. Paste your iframe code in there that was given to you by your VR tool provider, and the video virtual tour will embed on that page as well, so that a user can watch both of those elements on your own page. The features tab is where you have, I think it's now 135 different fields that you can add. By clicking on the heading, it'll expand out and give you a whole variety of different fields that are available for you to fill in. If you don't fill them in, that's fine. They just won't appear on the website. But if you do fill them in, they will. And they will also, in most cases, feed to Boat Point as well. So a lot of these are deep mapped into the Boat Point system as well, so that you can feed some of the more sort of detailed elements in, like the dry weight and maybe even things like beam and draft and things like that. You can put in meters if you want to as well, or feet, either or. Engine notes, you can make a note if it's a used engine and it's just been serviced or something. You could make a note of that. You can note the number of engines and all those other good things that we need to know about. Accommodation notes, berths, showers, again, all of this kind of stuff you would have probably seen before when you uploaded listings to a portal like Yacht and Boat or Boat Point. Galley notes, refrigeration, freezers. We've got lots of other fields here in terms of life jackets and sail covers and pretty much everything you could need. If you feel that there are extra fields that you'd like to see in here, then please let us know. We can often add them in, especially if they are fields that are present on a third-party portal that you're interested in exporting to. Which brings me on to the export tab. Now, at the moment, there are no exports set up for this particular site. It's just gone live. So if you were setting up Listing Loader and you wanted to feed to Boat Point and Boat Sales and Trading Post and Trader Boat, then you would start to see the portal names listed down the page here. And you have a little export box appearing over here. And you just tick the box if you want it to export. And then the export field shows you when it was last sent. So you can send data for each listing independently to independent portals, essentially. So you have a very deep level of control about where your listings are being sent and when they're sent. But again, I have a separate tutorial on Listing Loader, so please refer to that if you would like some more information on that product. The status is the last tab that you need to fill in, and that is usually just this first field here, which is it's made as inactive as a default, and that's because we don't want stuff being sent live onto the site without you going, yeah, I definitely want it live. So you can choose to make your listing active when you're happy for it to be sent live. Otherwise, it will just remain as inactive until you tell the system otherwise. And that's it. That's how you add a listing. Once you've done that, you press save, and then you can go back to the listings dashboard, and you'll see the new listing has been added in here. And if you think, oh, no, I need to edit that again, then you can go in and edit it. And if you really think you've made a big boo-boo and you want to get rid of it completely, you just can simply click on the delete button. So I'm going to do that now, get rid of it, because we don't want that hanging around here. And then I'm going to show you in another listing. So I'm going to take you into a boat listing here. And this is a good example because it shows you a little summary and gives you a bit of an overview of the media. Now, this is what I didn't show you before. So when you load the listings, the photographs into the listing, the ideal size is 1920 pixels wide. And that's, the kind of sweet spot for widescreen display, and it will look great on tablet without being too big, and it will look good on a mobile device without being too big. So 1920 pixels wide is the sweet spot. Once you've uploaded them, you can also move them around. So if you think, oh no, I just want that to go down a bit further, you just hover over and grab the little three dots and pull it down the sort of stack until you're happy with where it lives. And then when you're happy with its new spot, you just save down the bottom, and it will take you onto the next tab. You can go back and you can give it a name here, which is good for search engine optimization. But more importantly, it's better to name the images before you upload them. So if you give them a nice Google-friendly name, like again, the make, the model, the year, and maybe even the words for sale in the title, and then -1, -2, -3, etc. That actually will make a big difference, because it means not only the listing page will get indexed, the video content will also get indexed, which you've uploaded onto YouTube, but so will the photographs, and they'll get indexed in the Google Images section of a search result. So, you're getting a triple dip, which is what you want, and your photographs can still generate you leads to the website, because people might be searching for the images, which they do frequently actually in marine and real estate. They look through the Google Images section, and they may come across the particular photo and go, oh, that's exactly the boat I'm looking for, and they'll come to your page. So it's well worth, again, a little bit of effort there too on the photograph side of things. Aside from that, that is how you add listings to the system. I'm going to show you how to add a parent category before I finish this tutorial off. So you click on here, little face, and then you go to settings, and then you go to parent category. And this will bring you to where we saw those previous parent categories. And if you wanted to add a new one, just go add new parent category. Type in its name. You can give it a summary and a description. You can also add an image if you'd like. And then you just press save. I'm not going to do that because this is a live site and I don't want to interfere with their structure. So I'll show you an example. This is one here, Barado engine that's been added with a little image here. and you can change it, swap it out to whatever you like. And then once you've added it, you'll see it appear in your listing drop down so that you can allocate listings to the new parent category as required. So you could change this in here. You go to your parent category and you'd see whichever one you wanted to take it into, and then press save. So that is how you add a listing to the new Boat Deck CRM system. I hope this tutorial was helpful. If you've got any questions, please feel free to contact us, and we'd be very happy to talk you through any of these elements in person.